Shalom, dear friends, and welcome to our Israel Vision studios in the beautiful Mount Zion Hotel overlooking the walls of Jerusalem. I'm your host, Dr. Jay Rawlings.
And I'm Meridel Rawlings.
And today on People Who Make a Difference, our guest is Zvi Raviv. And Zvi's a man who's making an enormous difference wherever he goes. And we've known Zvi for many years, particularly in his capacity as Special Liaison Officer and Director of Special Projects under Jerusalem's former mayor, Ehud Olmert. Now, Zvi Raviv's schedule is very busy, working as the director of the new Jerusalem Foundation, and one of whose goals is to offer support and special help, and financially and emotionally, for those who are victims of terror. Also, he's helping through the New Jerusalem Foundation various organizations in the City of Great Peace who help in time of crisis, such as the Magen David Adom or the Red Shield, we would call that, like the Red Cross, the Mishmar Ezrahi, or the Civil Guard. The New Jerusalem Foundation also helps many, many victims of terror and their families on a regular, ongoing basis. Zvi, it's a delight to have you with us today. Thank you for taking time, and it's a joy always to be with you.
Thank you very much.
You always make us laugh.
As very veteran residents of Jerusalem, I'm happy to be with you, always.
Thank you, thank you.
I always remember how you came to Jerusalem in a moment of crisis and said, I'm going to open now the Christian embassy in Jerusalem. And that's how we started a different phase in the Jewish-Christian relations. And that was a very important act.
25 years ago. You were a very young man then.
Nobody's perfect. Anyway.
I want to know what your favorite project is.
I think my favorite project is Jerusalem.
Yes.
You know, Jerusalem, contrary to other cities in the world, is not a city, it's a concept.
Tell us.
It's a concept. It's, you've got a Jerusalem, you've got a Jerusalem in your heart much more than the physical Jerusalem. The physical Jerusalem has physical dimension, this structure, that structure. People who come to Jerusalem say, why don't you have castles in Jerusalem? I say, well, what can I tell you? There are no castles in Jerusalem. But there is spirituality in Jerusalem. And the spirituality that was good enough for Judaism and Christianity and other religions to come in and say, we want to dwell in the city of God. And that's important. And the important thing, as far as I'm concerned, is what do I do every day in order to prepare the Jerusalem for tomorrow? How do we prepare a better Jerusalem, a kinder Jerusalem? How do we organize other institutions? How do we prevent poverty? How do we prevent people that go hungry? How do we increase the culture in Jerusalem? How do we do all those activities in Jerusalem? I just came here into the Mount Zion Hotel, and we're going to have a series of opera concerts in a place just across the road that belonged to the Scottish Church. Why? Because, you know, to infuse some different kind of atmosphere to Jerusalem, etc. So Jerusalem is my project, and if I want to single out one item out of Jerusalem, it's probably my family, and each of us is close to his own family. But Jerusalem is an asset to the world. Most or many of the ideas that the modern world lives on came out of Jerusalem, invented or promoted by Judaism and Christianity in particular. And look, you know, there was a great poet here that everybody knows that wrote over 3,000 years some poetry in Jerusalem, and we recite it every day. His name was King David, and King David wrote poetry that we recite every day in about 200 countries around the world.
Yes.
You know, can any other city give us such a historic dimension? Nobody can give us that historic dimension because no other city was the focus of attention. Now, the problem of being a focus of attention is that everybody else wants it. And because everybody else wants it, it attracts a lot of media attention. And because it attracts a lot of media attention, we enjoy and we suffer. And in the past 4.5 years, We had here, I don't remember the exact number of attacks, but we lost in Jerusalem more than 200 people. We have about 4,000 wounded. You're talking about major numbers.
This is just in the last 4 years.
4.5 years.
4.5 years.
That is correct.
Were there more attacks against citizens of Jerusalem than any other city in Israel?
Yes. Yeah, of course, because Jerusalem, first of all, there is the proximity to an Arab population. And secondly, Jerusalem is a symbol. If there is a bomb somewhere else in a kibbutz or incursion somewhere else in a moshav, etc., nobody pays too much of attention. But if something hits in Jerusalem, in the center of Jerusalem, it's like the center of attention for CNN, Fox, CBS, ABC, and all the other abbreviations, all the other letters.
And they're all here, and in fact, more journalists or TV journalists in Jerusalem per capita than any other city in the world.
Yeah, and rightly so. It's a nice city. You know, it's a nice city, but they come here because there is news. And as you know, sometimes the fact that there are a lot of journalists here creates the news, and if the news is not created, then the news is created by the journalists themselves. But that's besides the point, you know.
True. Now, the Jerusalem Foundation, tell us some of the work the New Jerusalem Foundation that you're doing.
Again, we concentrate a lot on education. We concentrate a lot on welfare. We provided close to 10,000 people last Passover with food packages. We concentrate on absorption of new immigrants. We concentrate on developing culture. We're going now towards the summer. We are now trying to promote we have several children. You see, Jerusalem, being a spiritual city, has a major economic problem because there was never an industry in Jerusalem. You can't have an industry in Jerusalem. You can't, it's not, you really can't work God and the factory at the same time. It's difficult. It's very difficult. And we don't want to dirty the city, and we don't want to, certainly not low-tech industries. So there is less wealth in Jerusalem. There is enormous philosophical wealth. There is enormous religious wealth, but there is no financial wealth. And people decide, or many people decide, to be involved with the work of God and not concentrate on making money. But they come to the week end and they have to put food on the table. And they come to the holidays, be it Christmas or be it Hanukkah. And they have to put food on the table. And sometimes they face grave difficulties in doing so. We help them. We try to help them. When we started to have the bombs explode and buses explode in Jerusalem, which, by the way, for the last few months it's over, but we still are going to live with the repercussions of the bomb attacks for many years to come. Because if somebody loses a leg or loses an eye or gets burnt or something else, he carries the consequences with him forever, for many, many years. And you have to take another number into consideration. Not only 4,000 wounded and 200 dead. Every person, every one of these 4,200 has on average 8 direct relatives, which means brothers, sisters, father, mother, etc. And they have another circle of about 60. So if you look into the numbers, then all the citizens of Jerusalem were affected. And who was affected? Many of them were new immigrants that came because they used the buses. Many of them were of the lowest echelon because they go to the markets, etc. And they are the people who need our help. So we help them. We help them in their, the medical expense is mostly covered by the state, but there are other expenses for them, expenses for the families, and for the father that has to stay out of a job, or a mother that has to stay out of a job. We have a personal friend that we adopted, whose mother stayed for 1.5 years every single day for 24 hours with a daughter. until she came out of it. She's burnt to about 70% of her body. She had one leg out of which they take grafts in order to put all over, in order to alleviate her suffering. But again, it's a pain for life, and we're trying to assist. We're trying to assist other organizations that assist. I told you Magen David Adom, that's the local Red Cross. We're trying to assist the Civil Guard, the Mishmar Ezrachi, and others, in order to give our society a more humane face. That's the important thing.
What can visitors to Jerusalem do? How can they make a difference? How can our viewers make a difference?
First of all, when visitors come to Jerusalem, they visit Jerusalem, and they see the miracle of Jerusalem, and they see how Jerusalem looks like. And they promote Jerusalem, and more people come to Jerusalem. So they spend some money in Jerusalem, so people can enjoy and can work. And when people come to Jerusalem, they can, you know, nothing comes to mind. I know that you're expecting me to say, yes, they should come and give dollars and they should contribute, etc., etc.
But coming is enough, isn't it?
Coming at the moment is enough. Enjoy the beauty of the city. Be with us. Good. Support us.
Yes.
Be with us, support us, and let us cross this difficult moment together. But people that are not here, the people that are elsewhere in the world, every single little bit helps. And if those people, those good people from around the world, would put together $100 and $50 or $20 or $1,000 or $5 million, we can do a much better job for me and for you. Because you see, Jerusalem is the only city in the world that doesn't belong to its citizens. Jerusalem belongs to the worshippers that believe that Jerusalem is the center of the world.
Oh, I think you should say that slowly again.
I think that Jerusalem belongs to the billions of people in South America and North America and Europe and in the Middle East. People, Australia, China, people that believe that Jerusalem is the center of the universe. And if the city belongs to everybody, everybody has the obligation to participate in whatever we do here in this city, in order to improve the city for me, for you, for our children, and for the children of those who are far away, that one day hope to come and visit us in this city of God.
Wonderful.
Now, I'm going to quote former mayor Teddy Kollek. He said, "I have the most difficult job in the world. I've got to get Jerusalem ready for the Messiah." You're carrying on that tradition, really.
Yes, but I believe that it's not the most difficult work. I believe this is the most rewarding work. Because, you know, most of the jobs that you do in life, you don't know what the result will be. We are the ones who know what the result will be. And when the Messiah will come, I hope he will find here the most beautiful city with gardens, with landscape, clean, happy, healthy, with healthy people. That's what I think.
Amen.
All people.
All people.
So if people are coming, they can, through us, we can put them in contact with you. You can take them around and do some special showing for them.
Absolutely, Jay. No, I'll tell you, I hesitated because I don't like to give false expectations.
Yeah.
Jerusalem in itself shows its visitors,
Yes,
etc.,
right. Yes.
and we cannot spend 24 hours a day showing people around, etc., etc. But we are preparing the city so people could see it. But whoever wants to be in touch with us will get a response, will get an answer, will get help, and hopefully we will get help from them.
Remember, David wrote, "Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. They shall prosper who love her." There's your challenge. Don't only pray. Come and visit. Come and see for yourself. Bring your family and your friends. And with that, we'll bless you and leave you and say,
Shalom, shalom from Jerusalem.
And shalom from me too.
Shalom, this is Dr. Jay Rawlings reporting to you for Fact or Fantasy. This week we are continuing to look at the myth that Palestinians do not encourage children to engage in terror. Despite occasional claims that extremists only promote terror, the truth is that the Palestinian Authority has consistently incited its youth to violence. Children are taught that the greatest glory is to die for Allah in battle as a shaheed or martyr. The PA regularly broadcasts television shows that encourage children to embrace this concept. This indoctrination is having an impact. According to one Palestinian newspaper, 79 to 80% of youngsters told pollsters that they were willing to be shaheeds or martyrs. Palestinian children now play death games, competing to see who will be the shaheed or martyr. They also collect terrorist cards, the way American kids collect baseball cards. And the maker of the terrorist cards sold 6 million in just over 2 years. I take hundreds of these pictures from children every day and burn them, said Shukra Hindi, a teacher at an elementary school in Nablus. They turn children into extremists. Many Palestinian youths have gone from pretending to actually carrying out terrorist attacks. More than 24 suicide bombers have been under the age of 18. And since 2001, more than 40 minors have been involved in planning suicide bombings and were arrested. In the last 3 years, minors have carried out 22 shootings and bombings. For example, teens 11 to 14 attempted to smuggle ammunition from Egypt into the Gaza Strip. 3 teenagers, 13 to 15, were arrested on their way to carry out a shooting attack in Afula, and a 17-year-old blew himself up in an attempted suicide attack. The situation has gotten so far out of hand that Palestinian families are starting to protest. The mother of one of the 3 teenagers sent to carry out the Afula attack said that the letter that he had left behind, she said, "My son doesn't even know how to write a letter like that and doesn't belong to any of these organizations." Some grown-up wrote the letter for him. And the boy's father added, "Nobody can accept to send his children to be slaughtered. I'm sure that whoever recruits children in this unlawful activity will never recruit his own children." This is Dr. Jay Rawlings reporting to you for Fact or Fantasy.
Welcome to His Still Small Voice. We're sitting here in the garden, beautiful garden, in the hills of Benjamin, just outside of the city of Jerusalem. I'm Meridel Rawlings. I'm going to share a dream I had with you today. Horrible dream, but something perhaps that would cause us to wonder and pause for reflection. It's a good thing to take time to be quiet. I dreamt that I was caught in a terrible explosion. I was with several other friends. We were Israelis. We were standing in the middle of a large business complex with high-rise skyscrapers with that lovely blue or silver glass. And we realized in the inferno that there was no way of escape. It was that fast. It happened in a second, in a moment, in the blink of an eye. And there I was caught in this living inferno that engulfed the entire complex. I experienced my body melting to nothing. We just simply disappeared. Our bodies were just incinerated in seconds, like that. That's how real my dream was. But there I was. I was just as alive as ever. Here you see my physical house, my physical entity. You don't see my spirit or my soul. You can hear my voice, which is a great indication of my spirit and soul and mind, but you can't see it. You can only see my home. But in this dream, my home was dissolved, but I was still alive, and I was talking with the people around me, and we were saying, who would do this to us? who would do this? And people were screaming and clamoring, and there were the sirens and the ambulances and the terror and the panic and the confusion and the madness. And we just moved right through the crowds, down the steps, out of what was left of this charred complex. And we passed through the people. We heard everything that was said. We understood everything that was said. We could see and comprehend everything, but no one saw or comprehended us. It was an amazing experience. It's one that you and I face. I face it every day living here in Israel. I choose to live here. This is my home. I personally feel that I have a right to live in my home. But with it comes this incredible sense of the future, of terror, of the possibility of being imploded at any moment. I woke up from my dream and I immediately shared it with my husband, and he looked at me and he said, "That was an atomic explosion." This is the world that you and I live in today. We can no longer be segregated. We can no longer feel that this isn't going to happen to me. It's their problem because they're Jews. I don't think so, friends. That doesn't cut it anymore in the world. We're human beings. We have as much right to live and to move and to have our being as the next soul, the next person. I wonder if you knew that out of almost 7 million Israelis, 1,027,000 Israelis have lost a loved one or a friend in wars or terror since her beginning in 1948. That's an enormous price for any population to pay. That's something to think about, isn't it? If you have questions, meet me at hisstillsmallvoice.com.